Hi, and welcome to the Unspoken Questions, a place for honest conversations. Conversations about faith, healing, and the thoughts we carry silently, the questions we wrestle with, and the truths we don't always know how to say out loud. So, whether you're here searching for clarity, healing, faith, or just the comfort of knowing you're not alone, I'm so glad you're here. This is the Unspoken Questions, and today, we begin with one of the hardest questions many of us may ever ask ourselves. What if I was the lesson? Not every ending means someone else was the problem. Sometimes life, loss, or God reveals something in us too. Was this heartbreak only about what happened to me, or also about what I need to learn? Have you ever noticed that when a relationship or friendship ends, people say to us that this was God's plan? God removed that person from your life because they weren't good for you. He knew the relationship or friendship needed to end. Maybe they were toxic. Maybe they were unhealthy. Maybe God was protecting us. And sometimes that may absolutely be true. But what about the harder question? What if sometimes God removed us from someone else's life because we weren't good for them anymore? That question is uncomfortable because it shifts us from blame to reflection. We live in a world that often teaches us to focus on who hurt us, who betrayed us, who left us, who failed us. But growth sometimes begins when we ask a different question. Did I love well? Did I listen? Did my pain become someone else's burden? Did my fear, pride, or brokenness affect people I cared about? Not as shame, not as self-destruction, but as honesty. Sometimes relationships don't end because one person was evil and the other was innocent. Sometimes people outgrow each other. Sometimes pain collides. Sometimes timing changes. Sometimes God reveals where healing is still needed in both people. And maybe one of the hardest truths is this: not every ending is punishment. Sometimes it's revelation. What if heartbreak can teach us something about ourselves we were never forced to face before? What if loss reveals patterns, unhealed wounds, emotional distance, fear of vulnerability? What if the question isn't only, why did this happen to me? But also, what is this trying to teach me about me? This doesn't mean you were the villain. It doesn't mean everything was your fault, but faith and healing often require the courage to ask, God, where do I need to grow? Where do I need to heal? Where do I need to be honest? Maybe some endings are not just about who was lost. Maybe they are invitations. Invitations to reflect, to heal, to mature, to love better next time. Because sometimes the hardest questions we don't say out loud are the ones that change us the most. What if I was the lesson? Say it out loud. What if God didn't just remove them from your life? What if He removed you from theirs? Maybe healing and growth doesn't always begin when we understand what happened. Maybe sometimes it begins when we're finally honest about ourselves. You don't need to have every answer today. Thank you for being here. This is the Unspoken Questions, and you are not alone. What's one question you've never felt safe asking? Come back for the next episode in the series. If I was the lesson, what was I meant to learn? That's where transformation begins. See you next time.